Thank you for joining me. Did you realise that switching to canned food can significantly cut your household expenses, especially during this cost of living crisis? An analysis of 25 popular grocery items shows that 80% of their canned versions are cheaper than fresh or frozen options, with canned foods being cheaper to buy and to cook in 22 out of 25 cases. The average cost of cooking canned food is also notably lower compared to fresh food. You can save an average of 50p per item in shopping baskets when opting for canned food. And when you look at the fact that around households on average throw out £728 worth of food every year, most of that are fresh fruit and vegetables. Canned food comes into its own. But I put to you that canned food is seen as a last choice. Most of us only think of canned food in the form of beans on toast, but there's a lot more. And if you can't afford fresh fruit and vegetables, you'd be surprised to know that many canned foods can actually be equally as nutritional. Joining me now is Dean Edwards, who you might know him as a chef from TV. What I think amazes me, what pleases me the most, Dean, is that you were a digger driver beforehand, because it means when you talk about food and when you talk about cooking, you don't come from a la-di-da sort of point of view, you come from a more down-to-earth point of view. Now, I think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I think in many cases canned food gets a bad rap. I didn't realise, for instance, some canned foods can last for up to 5 years. But I think it probably stems from people not really understanding the process. So talk us through why, in many instances, canned foods can be every bit as nutritional as fresh or frozen.
Yeah, so basically, when it comes to it, and you are right, you know, I was a digger driver and I had a very, very normal upbringing, and, on a lot of occasions, canned food actually formed a huge part of a lot of our meals growing up. And obviously in the UK now, we are quite into our food. There's a lot of foodies around, and obviously that comes a lot of food snobs as well. So a lot of people do turn their noses up. I did say it, unfortunately, so you can tell me off. But a lot of people do turn their nose up at canned food, and we obviously know the benefits of canned food, and you've mentioned quite a lot of them there, in terms of the cost, the convenience as well. Having canned food in your store cupboards as a go-to, instead of, having fresh ingredients in the house. But the one thing that people don't tend to consider when it comes to canned foods is the comparison on taste. Okay, so Love Canned Food actually commissioned expert nutritionists at Manchester Metropolitan University to test 15 recipes using canned food and fresh foods. And you might be surprised to find that 13 out of the 15 recipes, the judges actually found no significant better in terms of the fresh and the canned. So I just think, I've been using canned ingredients all of my life, and actually I've been working with Love Canned Foods for the last couple of years, developing recipes that people can use at home. We're not all master chefs, so a lot of people find it really hard. They struggle with confidence when it comes to cooking. So actually going online, finding a nice, easy recipe, and I think convenience is the main thing, and actually using canned ingredients, having that convenience is part of the reason why people reach for so-called ready meals or takeaways, and actually that can't be that cost effective either.
Yeah, I tell you, but for me, canned food still, and I'm probably like you from my childhood, always have some canned foods in case of. And when I was a single mum, I have to say there were many times when money basically ran out, and I'd know, canned foods weren't going to go, the canned sweet corn or the canned peas, what have you, they weren't going to go off. Whereas,
exactly.
That figure of £728 worth of stuff being thrown out, it's nearly always fruit and veg, isn't it? So tell us what, how do they put canned foods together? How do they even do it? Because I think, again, a lot of furphies around that, they're heated, aren't they? So they're not likely to go off.
Exactly. So a canned food can have a shelf life of up to 5 years. And as you mentioned in your opening slot there, in terms of actually cooking food as well, this is the first time in my lifetime that I've had to experience the cost of cooking ingredients alongside the actual cost of ingredients with the cost of living crisis. So we're all feeling the pinch. Now, a lot of canned food is already cooked. So really, in essence, you're already just rewarming. So it doesn't take anywhere near as long to cook canned food as it would fresh food. Just say, for example, that you mentioned being a single mum there. There were times in my life where money was very, very short. And I looked at canned ingredients as a way that I could really make my food go a lot further, especially when I was a student. A minuscule amount of meat. And I would always bulk out my recipes, my curries with tins of potatoes, chickpeas, vegetables, because for me, it ticks so many boxes. It would make the meal go further. It was obviously a lot more cost effective. And as you mentioned, the amount of food that we actually throw out in the UK is truly frightening. And most of that is fresh ingredients. Now, when you look at it, convenience is everything. And life, it doesn't always quite go to plan. So you can imagine, just say, for example, a lot of families actually cook meals on rotation, especially when I was growing up. You know, we'd have a spaghetti bolognese on a Tuesday, we'd have a curry on a Wednesday. And sometimes life doesn't work out. And if you don't tend to cook those ingredients as in when, then sometimes they get forgotten about. Whereas canned ingredients, you can kind of reach into the cupboard and go, oh, let's see what we can do with this. And actually, you can mix and match ingredients. You can make soups, curries, stews. Do you know what? The possibilities are absolutely endless.
All right, I'm going to throw something at you then. Can you give me an example of a meal that you could make with canned food?
Right, what, solely canned food? I mean, for me, the one that kind of throws it up to me that I absolutely love is either a curry or a chili. I make an amazing mixed bean chili. So you can use cans of mixed beans, so you can use kidney beans, chickpeas, whatever it would be. Some tomatoes, you know, it can go in. Spice is a great way of adding. All right, you're not going to get your spices in the can, but if you've got a little stock cupboard of just your basic spices, that's a great way of adding flavour into meals, you know, and it's really cheap, convenient, and most of all, it's tasty as well. So there's lots and lots of inspiration. If the listeners and viewers go to @Love Canned Food on Instagram, or even that's a long way of saying it, lovecannedfood.com. There's a load of recipes on there, including lots and lots of recipes that I developed from family home-cooked meals, chilies, curries, soups, but even fakeaways, all using canned ingredients, as alongside fresh ingredients.
Hang on, what did you call
a fakeaway?
What's a fakeaway?
So a fakeaway. So it's basically where people can recreate their favourite takeaways at home using home ingredients. So obviously you're making them much, much cheaper. They're cutting out all the so-called nasties that you may find in the takeaways. And for me, they're a lot tastier as well. You know exactly what goes into your meal.
So what about people who are worried that having canned food isn't as good for you as, say, frozen or, well, fresh is, we keep doing it on this show. It's difficult to get your hands on if you're short of money. But what about people who are worried about, quote unquote, the lack of goodness?
Okay, so I can come at that in a couple of different directions. One being, actually, there's not a lot of nutritional value which goes during the canning process. In actual fact, a lot of the ingredients that go into the cans are much fresher when they're canned than some of the fruit and veg that we find in our supermarkets. Secondly, you can look at it in another respect. Just say, for example, and I'm gonna stitch my nan up a little bit here, because when my nan cooks cauliflower, she boils it for about 15 hours. Okay, so by the time that reaches the table, there is no nutritional value left within that cauliflower. So you kind of take into the impact the way that you actually cook it. But thirdly, I look at if you are cooking using ingredients from home, a mixture of both fresh and canned ingredients, there's going to have so much more nutritional value than if you went out and got a takeaway or a ready meal where you can't control the amount of salt, sugar, you know, and all that business in there. So life is all about a balance, and food is all about a balance. You can be naughty one night, but you might need to be good the following night. So it's all about a balance, but there's not that much in terms of nutritional value between the two.
And am I right in thinking that, again, when we talk about power and what have you, because we're also the cost of baking something and then having an oven on for, I don't know, 40 minutes or what have you, if money's tight on the meter. Am I right in thinking a lot of canned food can be prepared using a microwave?
Absolutely. And you know what? You've come to the right man. Because in the last couple of years, I'm going to give myself the ultimate plug here. In the last couple of years, I've written two slow cooker books, an air fryer book, and a microwave book.
Slow cooker, slow cooker, slow cooker. Yeah. I love slow cookers. But microwaves, and what can you cook in a microwave then with canned food?
You can cook absolutely anything in a microwave. Anything really that you can think of, you can cook in a microwave, from cakes to curries to stews to soups. You can cook anything in the microwave, and canned ingredients are perfect for this because actually they're already cooked. So they only really need warming up through them. So I do an amazing chicken curry in the microwave, believe it or not. And it takes, seriously, it takes about 9 minutes from start to finish, using a combination of fresh and canned ingredients. And I won't lie to you, it's absolutely amazing. And my wife is the ultimate taste tester. So, you know, and she's honest with me as well. And half the time I cook stuff in the microwave or the air fryer in a slow cooker. She hasn't got a clue which way it's cooked. As long as it tastes good, that's the main thing.
I think most people would say that. Now, what about cooked? Because when I think of tinned food, most people think of vegetables. But of course, you've got tinned fish and tinned meat. Are they okay to use? I mean, if you can't afford fresh, it's got to be better than nothing.
Absolutely. And listen, I think one of the most staple ingredients up and down the country in the UK, tinned tuna. We all eat it. I'm pretty sure every household in the UK probably has a tin of tuna at the back of their store cupboard somewhere. And it's absolutely fantastic. Now, there obviously are different options. You can get your tuna in spring water. You can get your tuna in oil. You can get your tuna in brine. So you can pick and choose whichever way you want. Obviously, if it's in oil, it's going to have a higher calorie content. If it's in brine, it's going to have a higher salt content. But if you opt for the spring water, you know, it's just tuna. It's already cooked. It's as basic as opening up a tin, getting it out, sticking it on a jacket spud, or sticking it in a roll or a sandwich. Again, you know, there's a certain amount of snobbery that comes with it, but I truly believe there really is a time and a place for these kind of canned ingredients. And I won't lie to you, one of my favorite meals growing up was corned beef hash. That was one of my ultimate favorites. Mashed potato with a load of corned beef mashed up through it, a tin of baked beans on the side. Right. Absolutely loved it. And that, for me, is one of my favourite food memories.
Now, am I right in thinking that Spam has made a comeback?
Spam is very fashionable. Actually, so much so, I did see in the local supermarket the other day, they actually had one of those little monitors on it, you know, to stop people stealing it. Spam is absolutely making a comeback, and that was actually another ingredient for my youth. We used to have spam fritters in school dinners. I always opted for the spam fritter, loved it. But yeah, spam again, it's one of these kind of ingredients that's absolutely making a comeback.
Wow, I'm just thinking with a monitor on. I've seen fresh salmon with little monitors on, but not spam. And just let's finish up by thinking about pudding very quickly. Tinned fruit, again, I'm guessing you can do lots of things from tinned fruit. Well, you pies and things like that, can't you?
Absolutely. So again, when it comes to canned fruit, it's already cooked. It's already pretty much ready to go. So canned pears, apples, cherries, absolutely delicious. And they're almost ready to go in terms of desserts. So something like an apple crumble would be absolutely perfect. A can of apples in there. You can make your topping. You can do it the old school way with a bit of butter and a bit of flour, and you know, you can get your fingers working. Or you could use some chopped up nuts, some oats, a little bit of honey. Very, very simple. Dessert on the table in seconds. But there is actually a fantastic recipe on the Love Canned Food website for a pear and chocolate loaf. So it's basically it's a sponge with chopped up canned pears running through it, and it is absolutely delicious. And the taste testers actually preferred this.
We've got to finish there. Thank you for that. I've got lots of ideas. Thank you so much. It's Dean Edwards there talking about what you can do with a can. Coming up, all our tech news. And what age should a child have a mobile phone? Is 3 too young? All of that and a lot more after this.
This is TalkTV.
For the news that matters, for the opinions that matter, for the stories that matter. Find me, Vanessa Feltz, every weekday at 4 p.m, only on Talk, on TV, on radio, online, and on your smart speaker.